Thank you very much, Marty. I believe you can see my screen now.
Yes, you're up.
Awesome. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this fair, Study Michigan Fair. I am an EducationUSA advisor, like he said, and I'll be talking about the 5 steps to US study. So what do we do at EducationUSA? We are actually a network of advising centers. There are about 430 and counting advising centers all over the world. So there's every possibility that there is at least one advising center in your countries, because we cover over 175 countries. And we're under the US Department of State. So basically what we do is that we provide accurate information to international students who want to study in the United States. So students who are thinking of getting a higher degree in a US institution, either at the undergraduate level or at the graduate level for a master's or PhD, those are the kind of students we work with. Also, we serve the US higher education community in such a way that if they need information about a particular country or a country's educational system, EducationUSA is usually one of the first points of call for institutions in the US to know about the educational system in each country. So that way they are able to assess students from that country better. We also deal with local education institutions, NGOs, schools, name it. So long as it has to do with education and studying in the US, EducationUSA provides information about it. And like we said, we provide accurate information about studying in the US. We organize information sessions, one-on-one sessions, one-on-one advising. Each center deals with international students based on what is applicable in their respective countries. In Nigeria, you can find EducationUSA at the embassy in Abuja and at the US consulate in Lagos. That is where I am. There are also some other centers in American corners with NGO offices, Fulbright commissions. So when I share the screen showing the website to EducationUSA, you only need to go there and find out where the EducationUSA Advising Center in your country is. We also work with teachers, teacher training workshops, and educational fairs. Very many, well, during this COVID pandemic, very many EducationUSA centers have been able to hold virtual fairs so that their students who are working with them and students in their country or in their continent can reach out to EducationUSA or can reach out to the schools. So connect with EducationUSA wherever you are, and we'll definitely have something for you. Now at EducationUSA, we talk about 5 steps to US studies, and that's where we're going today. So the first step is research your options. What is that thing you want in the school? What is your criteria? Those are the things that makes you a good fit for the school and makes the school a good fit for you. Now you have to start well ahead of time, about 12 to 18 months in advance. Domestic students, that is students in the US, spend about the same time doing their research in order to get into the school that is a good fit for them. So international students shouldn't expect to spend any less if they want to get the best out of their applications. Find out potential good fit institutions, what makes it a good fit for you, the location, the programs that they offer, the degrees, is there any exchange program that they get into, or study abroad program, a peer mentoring program that the school is into, and you would like to be part of it. All these things matter. The cost is part of what you should consider. Would you be able to pay for your education if you attend the school? All these things are part of what you need to do as your research. These are some of the websites where you can start your research. It's not the final stop. These sites, whether for undergrads or for grad students, are actually meant to whet your appetite for you to make your final decision on whether a school is a good fit for you or not. You need to visit each school's website. That is where you get the most accurate information about what a school offers, about the funding opportunities, about the things that you can get, about the benefits that apply to you as an international student. So while these sites whet your appetite, make sure that you go to each school's website. If any school strikes your interest, go to the school's website to get the most accurate information. And believe me, with that, you cannot go wrong. The The second step goes hand in hand with the first step. Plan your finances. How do you intend to pay for your education? If you are thinking of getting funding from the school, you need to know that getting funding is very, very, very competitive. Competitive in the sense that very many people are also applying for the same funding you're thinking of. So if that is what you're thinking of, you have to work hard on your application. Okay, if the school covers your tuition, how do you pay for the other remaining part of the cost of attendance? Does the school give full funding? If not, what does the school have to offer? Okay, the school does not offer much, but this is what you can pay. You need to find out how do you cover for your studying, not just your tuition, but your living in the school, because you're not just going to be going to school in the US for your program, you will be living in the US. Your feeding, your accommodation, you need to get dressed for the weather. Michigan has 4 seasons and you need clothes for each season, believe me. How do you get financial aid? Are there loans? Are there other opportunities that are available to you within and outside of the school or in your home country? That's one thing you need to find out as well. The third step is completing your application. That is after you already have the knowledge of the school, you already have the accurate information. Now, applying to schools in the US is not really a one-size-fits-all. And unlike what is applicable in very many countries, studying in the US, you need to know that the application process is holistic. They don't just look at your test scores. They look at a lot of other things. You need to write essays. Some schools have additional essays that you would have to write in order to apply to them individually. They call those supplemental essays. So if you are interested in applying to a school like that, know that you will be writing more than one essay. Some schools ask for portfolio if you are into some form of creative arts or things like that. Some schools go as far as interviewing you. The application fees are there. While some schools might waive it, some schools won't waive it. All these things are what you need to know. So it's not really a one-size-fits-all. Although for undergrads, there can be portals like the Common Application Portal that will help you submit one application to very many schools. Even then, you will still have to submit some additional documents to individual schools. So you need to know what each school requires individually in order to meet up with the admissions requirements. Now, these are some of the requirements: standardized tests, your transcripts, recommendation letters from your teachers, from your guidance counselor, from your faculty, from your professor if you're a graduate student. And some schools ask for maybe 2 or 3, some schools ask for more. So you need to know what each school is asking for, and then the application fee per institution. Know the requirements, and the only place where you can get that accurately is the school's website. So don't get it wrong when you're doing your research, and you won't get it wrong with your application. The fourth step, after you have your admission, you get your I-20 and some necessary documents and funding if need be, then you need to apply for your student visa. Visit the US mission website for your home country. There might be some additional requirements or some steps that you would need to take as required by the US Embassy in your country in order to apply for your student visa. So visit the US Embassy website for your country. That is where you get the most accurate information about how you can get a visa to the US in your country. If you're getting information from maybe a friend who is in another country, the process might be slightly different. It may not be different in terms of fees, but maybe in terms of where you submit your documents or where you pick up your passport or where you drop your passport. So all these things are very, very, very essential, and be prepared to explain yourself very well when you go for your interview. And EducationUSA website, there are some resources, even on YouTube, that can help you as you prepare for your visa interview. And I'm sure that on the website for your home country too, you would get a lot of information that will be of help as well. And then the fifth step, that's prepare for your departure. After you have your visa, what do you need to know? Many EducationUSA centers all over the world organize what we call a pre-departure orientation. It gives you information on what you need to know, right from the time you need to get on the plane to when you get off and you are at the port of entry, what should be in your checked-in bag, what should be in your carry-on, What are those things you need to take on with you? And how do you settle well and settle fast? As an international student, how do you get settled for your studies in the US? And how do you get settled as someone currently living in the US? How do you make friends? How do you relate with your professors? How do you relate with faculty? All these things are part of what we work with students in order to get as they prepare for their departure. Of course, how do you make arrangements? Where do you spend the first night when you get to school in the US? So these are the 5 steps that Education USA walks students through. We don't do the process for you. Rather, we teach you how to fish. We teach you how to go through this process, one after the other. Now, this is a timeline of when you get started, when you start doing your research. Many of the students will be going to school in fall, August, September, started their application process around August, September last year, or October, all the way through January. So that's the time to start your research. By March, April, May, June, you start preparing for your standardized test. By August, you have your statements ready. You take your standardized test by August, October, in order to start your applications by October, November. By November 1, we have the early decision deadlines for schools that use the deadlines. By December, you're done with your applications. Make sure that you are done with your applications before the new year. That is the ideal thing, especially if you're thinking of getting funding. And then by February, even by January, you start getting the admissions decisions. By May, you've made up your mind on which school you want to go to. And by June, August, you are preparing to get started. So you can see that it's a year's, it's a timeline of about a year from this year all through to next year. Education USA, like I said, is worldwide. Your center may not be working, will not be taking its students right now due to COVID, like my center is not taking people right now due to COVID, but reach out to them. I believe every center is advising students virtually. And this is the website where you can connect with us, educationusa.state.gov. Believe me, you will find an advising center in your country that can work with you. I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Addie. That was wonderful. Really helpful in terms of explaining Education USA in very straightforward ways that everybody will understand. I know what with Education USA, the situation there, though there are standard services that are offered across the network, there's oftentimes some differences depending on what kind of center you are, a comprehensive, standard, or a reference center. But can you, do have a question that's related to visas. I know the question on visas is also, it depends and will vary depending on the country. But this student is apparently in India, and in India, obviously you can't speak to what the situation is there, but you can talk to it in context of what's happening in Nigeria. Obviously in India, they're undergoing really a bad way with COVID right now. They're unable to get visa appointments because the consulates are closed, even though they wanted to open. Because of health and safety reasons, they had to close because of what COVID's doing to the country right now. So what advice would you give if it were happening in Nigeria, if a student can't get a visa appointment in time before the fall semester starts? What advice would you give them?
Okay, luckily for me, a consular officer answered that in the session I moderated earlier today.
Good.
So what the consular officer advised is that if students can't get a date, maybe because of the wait times and things like that, the student needs to write to the NIV section of their country. Now, when they go on the country's US mission website, there will be an email address for to the non-immigrant visa section. Now it relates to every country. Now for Lagos, Nigeria, it's Lagos NIV at state.gov. If it's Delhi, it could be something like Delhi NIV at state.gov. There's always the city with an NIV at state.gov. They need to write to that email address, include maybe their I-20 showing the classes start date and everything they've done, the visa appointment confirmation, the their booking or the payments they've made in order to apply for the visa, asking for an expedited date.
Would that be the emergency appointment?
In most situations.
Most consulates have now?
Yes.
Got it.
Emergency appointment, expedited date. In most cases, they usually want to give preference to students because they know that the schools are not going to wait just because one student has not been able to make it to campus.
Oh, that's very helpful. I know we had another student that had a question on specifically about one of the Michigan colleges, and Jim looks like he's answered that one. So Addie, appreciate your time today. You've been very helpful. We do have one question. Jacque has asked, how do we know when to attend the Education USA Center if they've gotten their visa and they're looking for about a pre-departure orientation? Who do they need to contact to find out about pre-departure once they have their visa?
Okay, like I said before, visit the website www.educationusa.states.gov. You'll find a link, a button to find an advising center. Click on it, and then in one of the fields, enter your country, any country where you are. Once you enter it and you search, you'll find the addresses and the contact details of every advising center in that country. It works well. So you can contact the one nearest to you to know when they are having a pre-departure orientation.
That's helpful. That's very helpful. Yeah, because that really helps those new students make that connection with maybe others that might be traveling to the same state or even the same institution from their country.
That happens every time.
Yeah,
it happens every time.
Yeah, definitely recommend those pre-departure orientations. So thank you. Looks like that's all we have time for in terms of the questions. So thank you very much, Addie. You've been a wonderful addition to the presentations today. And we look forward to keeping the connections going. Cheers.